Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and I have a super fun card for you guys that I had made for my youngest little munchkin. I made this for her for Valentine's Day, and I started off with some Bristol smooth cardstock that I stamped all of the images from My Favorite Things Lucky stamp set. This is from their new February release. And I stamped all the images with Hero Arts black ink. And I just posted a video the other day showing how you can line up all the stamped images and the dies without having to cut the dies apart. And I did the exact same thing here. So I will link to that video to show how that works. I just didn't include it in this one to keep this video a little bit shorter. But yeah, stamped all the images, and then they have all these little coordinating happy faces and like little winky images. And I stamped those as well because they're absolutely adorable. So once everything was stamped, I used my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers to color them all in. Didn't do anything totally groundbreaking. I just used two different colors for each image and colored there's like a little mini image of the larger one. So I just did the same colors for each one, and it was super, super simple. Just started with the darker and then used the lighter color to kind of blend it out a little bit. And with these markers, I'm finding that, yeah, the Bristol Smooth cardstock is the best cardstock for these. The colors just blend a lot easier on here. So colored them all in. And then once I got them colored, the cloud, I just did one color. I did the light blue, and then I just took my little water brush to just kind of blend it out a tiny little bit. I don't like to use a lot of water on Bristol. I find if you try to work it too much, it will, it's not so much pill. I guess it would pill at some point, but it just starts to get a little messy. So I used the water brush though, just to blend it out a tiny little bit. And then I took my clear Wink of Stella pen and went over every single image with that just to give it some shimmer because, yeah, my girls love glitter, shimmer, all that kind of thing. With each image, I colored it with the Wink of Stella, and then I scribbled it on the scratch paper there because these are water-based, so the Wink of Stella will reactivate them. And I said this in my previous video as well. You can actually use the Wink of Stella to blend these colors if you'd want, because it works that way as well. I haven't started doing that yet. I just like using it as a final touch to add the shimmer and the glitter. So I coated everything with that and then let it dry for a bit before I run it through my die cut machine, just because I didn't want to get the shimmer all over my cutting plates. But before I went to do that, I took a piece of white cardstock that I cut to 4 1/4 by 8 1/2 inches, and I scored it 4 1/4, so it's going to end up being a square 4 1/4 inch square card. And here's where I line up the dies. And like I said, watch that previous video, that quick tip video, showing how I use my MISTI to stamp all those images in the right spot so I can die cut these all in one pass through my die cut machine, which makes it just super fun. And then I lined up just the card front here with the spine of the card at the edge of the cutting plate. And I'm using one of the new inside and out stitched square stacks dynamics for this to cut a window on the inside or on the outside of my card. And then I grabbed a scrap of the same cardstock and I used the largest die from the set as well as the same size die that I used on the card and ran those both through at the same time to create a frame, which I'm going to use a little bit later for this card. And the whole point in cutting out this window is I wanted to create a window card and add a shaker element using the new to me Fuse tool. I showed this in a very recent haul video. And this is my very first time using it. I didn't even really experiment at all with it before heating it up and making a card with it. It's pretty easy to use. You just plug it in. It gets super, super, super hot. Be very, very careful with this. Be very aware of where your fingers are and where the tool is. It is very hot. If you've ever used a hot tool, which I have used for years, I've shown in videos years ago. I used to use it to cut my easy mount and that sort of thing. This is the exact same. Really, it's the same thing. So it gets insanely hot. I just am using over some scrap cardstock here and using one of the We Are Memory Keepers, just a photo sleeve because it was the right size. And then that window I had cut out from the card front, that's what I used as my guide to create the right size shaker element for my card. So I used the Fuse tool just on 3 sides and left the top area there open. So once I had all 3 sides fused, I trimmed off the excess with my scissors. And then I decided to fill the shaker element with some iridescent sequins. I'm pretty sure these are Doris ones. So I used some of those, and then I used a whole bunch of this Martha Stewart shaped glitter, which I showed again in a recent video. I'm pretty sure I did anyway. But yeah, I've had this sitting here for a while time, and the colors were perfect for this card. So I went totally overboard with these. You do not, I wouldn't normally maybe add quite this much. But again, since it was for one of my kids, I went nuts, and I was having so much fun with this. So I was like, just created my own fun little shaker mixture with all the different colors, and some of them are star shapes, some of them are little heart shapes. So added a ton of those, and then put this piece back on so I can use the guide to finish off and seal the shaker element. And ran that down and sealed it in, and then cut off that excess with my scissors, and I've got this perfect little shaker element. This was so fun. I'm going to be posting a whole lot more of these sorts of videos because this was just fun. I had another one of my kids standing like at my shoulder as I was making this, and she was just loving it. So once I had that all done, you can see this fits the window of my card. And you could do this one of two ways. You could adhere it really on the top of the card and then use the frame on top of that. But I cut the frame to use on the inside of the card just to cover up the adhesive and the edges of the shaker element so that you couldn't see it. Either way, really, with a card like this, totally works. And I'm just using some 1/8 inch red line adhesive to adhere all this. And I went right along the inside of the window I created in the card base and peeled off all the backing to the adhesive, and then I just press the shaker piece right onto there. And the thing I'm really loving about the fuse tool and doing things like this is it shakes really, really well, but it stays relatively flat. So you can create like these fun little shaker cards and pop these in the mail, and more often than not get away with not having to pay extra postage. So total bonus. I'm loving it. So I adhered the little frame on the inside just to cover up that edge there, same red line tape. And since I wanted to stamp a sentiment on the inside of the card and you're actually going to see it through the window, I wanted to be a bit of a perfectionist and make sure I got it perfect, because after going to all this work, that was the last thing I wanted, was to mess this all up. So I used my Misty tool for this, and you can get these grid line sheets. You can either order them separately, you can have them printed out. I'll have a link to them with the supplies, but I like using those to make sure I get a stamp like this straight on the inside of the card or outside wherever I'm stamping it, and then I'm able to ink it up, stamp it, and I get a perfectly stamped sentiment. And then to adhere all these little elements, I just pop them into this little scrap box that I use for spraying and different things, and I pop them all in there face down. And then I actually did this outside. I just took it outside and sprayed them with my spray adhesive. I haven't had problems with it. I've had people tell me that they've had issues with things coming apart after a while. I've never had a problem, but maybe it might depend on your location, humidity, temperature, that sort of thing. I find this adheres really well. Another option would be to run these through a little Xyron, the little sticker maker, and that would create adhesive for these. My Xyron I haven't used in years. The adhesive dried up years ago. So I just use the spray adhesive just because you can see the backs of these. So it was just an even coating of adhesive, and they stuck really, really well. And I used all of them on this card because, again, it was my 2-year-old and she loved it. Funny little story, when I gave it to her, she lost her mind. She thought it was adorable. She was so excited. And then her latest thing is, what's that? What's that? And she was pointing at all the images, and we're saying, like, it's a heart, it's a horseshoe. And the moon there, she's like, what's that? And we're like, well, it's a moon. And she just looks at me, no, it's a banana. So it's a banana. So whatever floats her boat. So anyway, this was such a fun card to make. So I got all the little elements adhered and gave it to her for Valentine's Day, and she loved it, and it's super cute. So it's on display in her room, and I just had so much fun making it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're interested in any of the supplies used, there's a link to my blog post, as well as links to all the supplies used in this video. I'll also post a link to that other video showing how I line up the stamps and the dies. So check that out below if you are interested. Thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping my videos. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all very soon in the next one. Bye.